Hello, this is KK from Mind IT. One of the things that I'm going to talk about today about pre-sales functions is the type of services that pre-sales functions provide. But do bear in mind that pre-sales functions vary quite significantly across organizations, across industries. You might even be surprised that they may not even be called pre-sales function. They could be called sales enablement, they could be called business development, they could be called bid and proposal management. So there are very varied set of terms and terminologies that are used across organizations and industries. But by and large, pre-sales plays a role in roughly about four different areas. The four different areas are: one, in research. We'll talk about that in a bit more detail. The second area is in the area of supporting sales vis-a-vis their collateral requirements and supporting for any meetings or discussions that they might want to engage in with the clients or prospects. Third area is in responding to the RFI kind of requests, the request for information type opportunities that come from clients and prospects. And finally, the most important area, which is in the opportunity management. And the opportunity management, of course, encompasses the bid and proposal management aspect as well. So this is broadly the kind of services that pre-sales functions are expected to provide. We'll go into a little more detail into each one of this, and hopefully that will give you a much better clarity about what I'm talking about.
Let us examine each one of the areas of services that pre-sales functions are expected to provide. Starting, of course, with research. So, broadly categorize the kind of research into client ecosystem research, technology research, and competitive intelligence. Briefly, client ecosystem research is more to do with the set of target accounts that a particular organization is chasing, and trying to understand everything about that particular client, right from how well they are doing financially as well as market-wise. What are the kind of clients or customers they themselves are servicing? What is their profile? It's always a good set of research to do to understand their clients and customers better. Technology research would be more in terms of the kind of technology that is currently prevalent in the market, what's the life cycle for those, and more importantly, looking at the newer and emerging technologies that are in the horizon and probably somewhere beyond the horizon as well. Always very useful, because many times clients do want many of the provider organizations to give them a view about the kind of technologies emerging and the impact of those on their businesses. And finally, of course, competitive intelligence, because you do want to know your competition and what they are doing in the market and how they are doing, right from whatever is available through press releases, financial reports, other third-party analyst evaluation, and all of those. All of these is important to get a better understanding of the ecosystem that your organization is. So this is a very specialized function in pre-sales functions that we have seen. Also recognize the fact that not all organizations do this, versus some organizations do some of these in bits and pieces. Some do very well in the client ecosystem research, but may not do much on the competitive intelligence, for example. Larger the organization, the more deeper and more investment goes into this area for sure. The second area is in sales support. Here, these are more to do with direct and immediate requests from sales, let's say to prepare them for a particular meeting, for example, or to help them conduct a workshop which might help the client clarify their requirements and expectations, for example. All of these would form under sales support, and largely a very reactive kind of set of services that needs to be provided. The third area is in responding to requests for information. I've kind of categorized it separately because RFI responses typically are different from RFP responses, and I've categorized this differently because RFI responses, I would say, would be a shade lower than RFP responses. Important nevertheless, because you want your organization to get shortlisted for future RFPs. Yeah, so as we get into larger organizations, typically there are dedicated set of people who respond only to RFIs and nothing beyond. And finally, of course, you have the opportunity management. This works very closely with the sales function, right from planning and strategizing the opportunity to putting together the entire bid and proposal management team as soon as the RFP is received, and everything related to the proposal post the submission right up to contract signing. This is where the real business comes into the organization. But having said that, the other three sub functions, if I may call them, play an equally important role in making the pre-sales function a very successful function within the organization.
Okay, so hopefully that's given you an idea of the kind of services that pre-sales functions are expected to perform. As I said before, not every one of these get delivered by pre-sales functions. Some not delivered at all. Some possibly delivered by maybe a separate and dedicated function. Each one of these is, of course, determined by the type of organization, how they are structured, whether they are a global organization or they are a more local organization, size of the organization. All these definitely makes a difference. But clearly, there's a very distinct difference between what a pre-sales function does compared to, say, what sales does, and compared to, say, what marketing does. Part of the idea of this presentation and this talk was to clearly distinguish the pre-sales function from these other two functions. Please also bear in mind that the whole term of pre-sales and pre-sales functions has been an evolution which has happened, I would say, about roughly the last about 10 to 15 years. Therefore, these are the kind of functions and services that are evolving constantly to make sure at the end of the day that the organization is putting its best foot forward when it comes to pursuing opportunities and responding to them, and most importantly, winning them. Hopefully you like the video. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.